Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the first two episodes of The Acolyte. These episodes are directed by Leslye Headland, starring Amandla, Stenberg, Dafne, Jung-jae, and of course Charlie Barnett, along with a large cast of other actors and actresses in this show. And this is another Disney Plus Star Wars series that I think a lot of people were very excited for when it was first announced several years ago, as it taking place in the High Republic at the height of the Jedi Order, with the possible rise of the Sith being the focus of the show. And as we've learned more about it, with it being kind of a murder mystery where a bunch of Jedi are being killed off by this mysterious character. Who is this character? What is this mystery? That is the pitch of this series. And of course, this being a Disney Star Wars TV show, there's going to be some unnecessary controversy around this thing, along with some genuine complaints, and also a lot of really good things about this series that is to praise about it. And I'm going to be talking about all of those things in this review with a bunch of spoilers. So if you have not seen the first two episodes of The Acolyte, go check them out. They are on Disney Plus. And honestly, I really enjoyed the vibe of these first two episodes as setting up the tone of the series and to see what direction it's going to go in. Although I'm not fully engaged and invested in it quite yet. But let's just jump right into this thing, starting off with the things that I really did enjoy about this series thus far, and that is the tone set by Leslye Headland as the showrunner and the director of these first two episodes, which, if you are a showrunner who's kind of establishing the tone of a series with a large group of directors that's going to be directing all 8 episodes of this series, you got to establish that tone right from the beginning. I think these first two episodes do a really good job at establishing what the show is going to be. It has this aura of mystery to it, and it also has a tone and a feel to it and a vibe that is completely different from all the other Disney Plus shows that we've gotten thus far. It very much is a mystery that is established right at the beginning opening scene, with Amandla Stenberg's May going to have a confrontation with Trinity herself. But these first two episodes don't just have to establish the tone and the time period that the show is set, and also has to establish the characters and the action sequences that the show is going to feature throughout its entire runtime. And so when we have the character of May, or Osha, played by Amandla Stenberg, which I have to say, I didn't realize that they were playing twins in this show, which, all the better for it. I love Amandla Stenberg in so many things. I think the first thing I saw them in was probably The Hunger Games, but of course, The Hate U Give was a great performance and a great movie, and also Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I've recommended this movie so many times just recently, actually, just in the past couple weeks. If you haven't seen Bodies, 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 go check it out. I love that movie, but I do love Amandla Stenberg as an actress, and especially in this show, playing these two roles. I think they do a good job at, having these specific mannerisms between each character that you can clearly tell that these are two completely different characters with kind of a sort of yin-yang sort of duality to them. May is the more jaded character that's out for revenge against these 4 Jedi that have something to do with the death of their family. We don't get the full backstory for Osha and May in this first 2 episodes, which I'm very excited to get to that point, because, just seeing May's, determination in taking out these Jedi and, following this dark side, possibly Sith user that we see at the end of the first episode is an intriguing concept in and of itself. But even just their mannerisms and their precision in how they, go about their action sequences in this, first 2 episodes was very interesting, especially when you contrast that with Osha, who is very much a character like Ahsoka in season 6 of the Clone Wars, somebody who left the Jedi Order for some reason. Again, we don't have the full backstory just yet, but Osha's character is definitely more, I guess, peaceful, more at peace with her history, and it's an interesting, confrontation with these two characters when they do see each other in the show, because they clearly have an interesting past with each other, because their family died. They each thought the other one had died in this incident in the past, and when they do see each other, Osha wants to kill May because Osha blames May for the death of their family, and how, she possibly started the fire that burned their entire village down, that burned her family to death. And May possibly thinks that these Jedi took her sister away from her, or maybe these Jedi caused this fire to burn everything down. So we don't exactly know who is telling the truth here, which I think is the intrigue of this mystery itself. And as we've seen with a lot of, Star Wars media as of recently, with The Last Jedi, with, a couple other series, and now especially with The Acolyte, is the way the Jedi operates might not be as, perfect as we were led to believe in both the prequels and both the original trilogy, and the legend of the Jedi as it is now being torn down, or I guess not necessarily torn down, but being dissected by these modern Star Wars stories. There's a lot more to just good versus evil. There's a lot more gray area in there, which is again where the duality and that yin and yang kind of play parts into this, because, there is some anger and some resentment in Osha's character, who is supposed to be the good character in terms of these twins, and then there's some good aspects and some empathy that May has for other characters in this episode, where, she lets go of that bartender that sees her face, that, has this child with them. And so she has some empathy. She's paying these children to go ahead and help her, do any sort of, mission that she needs to do in this series. And so I find that both these characters and their journey is easily going to be the most interesting aspect of this series, partly because of the performance from Amandla, but also because the writing as this mystery is intriguing enough to have me be invested in at least this portion of the show. But then we have the rest of the cast of characters in this show, and let's start off with Carrie-Anne Moss, because she had a very small role, unfortunately, in this series, which is a damn shame, because I love Carrie-Anne Moss, I love Trinity as a character, and I love her presence as a Jedi in this. The idea that Carrie-Anne Moss is playing a Jedi was pretty cool. But after seeing the 5-minute clip that they showed at the end of the Phantom Menace re-release, and now we're getting to see little bits and pieces of these fight scenes, and the trailer didn't really show too much of Carrie-Anne Moss, I had a feeling that she was going to die early on, and well, she dies in the opening scene, which was still a great action sequence. Like I said, Amandla Stenberg's character has a really precise way of movements around their performance in this, both with the stunt performers that's doubling as this character, and also Amandla themselves that is possibly doing some of the stunts in this first action sequence. And of course, you have Carrie-Anne Moss, who is great in action sequences, as we saw in the Matrix films. It is a bummer to see her go, but there are a couple other shots, I believe, in the trailers that we haven't seen yet, so I'm expecting, of course, a flashback to see exactly what role she had in the past of this character. And then of course we have Jung-jae, who plays Master Soul, the former master of Osha in this show, and he was also a very fascinating character to me, mainly because of his presence, how he reminded me of Qui-Gon Jinn, especially in the, I think it was the Tales of the Jedi animated show that came out a couple years ago, with Qui-Gon Jinn not really wanting to be on the Jedi Council. He just wanted to be a normal Jedi Master because he had some, I guess, trepidation when it came to the way the Jedi operates, and how there are certain things about how the Jedi operates that didn't exactly vibe with his ideologies. And that's how I kind of feel about this character thus far. He hasn't really done anything besides kind of wanting to go against what the council was wanting to do with bringing Osha back to the council to do this trial. He wants to go directly to figure out who this possible evil force user is that's controlling May in some sort of way. And so I think he's going to be one of the more interesting characters to follow as the show progresses, because if this is a deconstruction of the Jedi and their ideologies and how they run things at this point of their highest point of power in the galaxy, I think that this character's possibly journey through this could be a very interesting arc. And at the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Charlie Bennett as Yord in this episode, and he's very much a type of Jedi that's, just from the first 2 episodes, I can tell that he is a rule follower to the T. He is not going to break a single rule, even if he's told directly by his superiors and by the council to break a rule, kind of like how Anakin was told to break a rule in Revenge of the Sith. And so this character I also find to be interesting so far. If they end up doing nothing with this character, maybe they'll end up disappointing me, but the way I kind of see his arc going from here on out is to kind of go with the Jedi no matter what, even if what they are doing is morally wrong. We also have Dafne Keen as Master Soul's current apprentice in this show, and to be fair, she is a great actress. I loved her in Logan. She hasn't had too much to do yet in this show thus far, so honestly I don't really have much to say about her besides her costume looks cool, the makeup effects that they have for her is pretty sweet, and I'm excited to see what she does in this show in general, because I loved her as Laura in Logan, so hopefully they give her a lot to do. She's a deserving actress. I'm glad that's another thing about this show is there's a lot of great young actors that are in this, specifically with Amandla Stenberg and now with Dafne Keen, where I honestly feel I feel proud of them for being in such a big show, with being cast in Star Wars now, because their careers have been very, good so far, especially with Amandla Stenberg has been in so many great things, but now seeing them in something as big as Star Wars, that's just really great to see for these characters. So I'm happy for the actresses themselves, but I hope that they give Dafne Keen in particular more to do in future episodes. We also just got a little tease of VERNESTRA and KELNACCA in these episodes. VERNESTRA, I believe, was pulled from some Star Wars Legends, some old, either it was a comic or a book that was, canon before Disney bought Star Wars and kind of dismantled the previous canon of Star Wars once they did buy the property. And it's nice to see them taking some things from Legends and bringing them back. Of course, this character is going to have the light whip, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to have thoughts on that when that episode happens, but I'm excited to see how it is used, because it is an interesting concept. It is a little bit wacky and weird, but hey, maybe it'll be cool. Maybe it'll work in the context of it being used in this episode. So I'm curious to see where they go with this character. I see her more as a Charlie Barnett type of character that's going to be the rule follower, because it seems like she is on the Jedi Council. She is more of a rule follower that is possibly going to be butting heads a little bit with the other characters in the show, especially if Master Soul is very invested in, bringing Osha and May back together and trying to pull them back to the light side, which could be interesting. And KELNACCA was teased at the end of the second episode because, of course, May is going after the 4 Jedi that have something to do with her past. And so, you took out Carrie-Anne Moss's character in the first episode, then you went after this other guy that was just kind of this monk who has gone silent, that is just kind of meditating constantly. And this character drank the poison from May willingly, which definitely shows that these characters definitely did something wrong in the past, which if they did do something just truly unethical for a Jedi, I can see how maybe, learning this information from Osha could make Osha, turn against Master Soul and possibly join May in whatever this, seeking revenge tour that May is going to be on throughout this show. So again, there's so many different character aspects that has been set up in these first 2 episodes that are interesting. They're now going after KELNACCA, who is the Wookiee Jedi that was, teased in all the trailers, which I'm very excited to see all that. But I think that is the thing that I'm most excited about the show, that I'm also very nervous about this show going forward, because I was pretty invested in the main cast of characters that we saw in these first 2 episodes. But of course, this being a TV series, you can't fully judge a show based on only 2 episodes or even 4 episodes that most critics have gotten, in this past. You get the Rotten Tomatoes score that we have for the show, but you have to keep in mind that this Rotten Tomatoes score is based off of these critics only watching 4 episodes. And so maybe these last few episodes completely go downhill. Maybe it doesn't end in a very satisfying way, because I'm giving suggestions for, or I guess theories of where these character dynamics and interpersonal relationships could go throughout this series. And if they don't do anything with these characters that I think could be interesting, it could fall flat by the end of it for me, which is why I'm a little bit more nervous going forward, because I think the mysteries established in this are interesting as of right now. But of course, this being a murder mystery and this being a mystery in general, if it doesn't land, if it doesn't have a good ending, it could topple this entire show by the end of it. So I'm very curious to see where we go from here. I think it is a solid start with Leslye Headland being the showrunner of this, setting the tone and setting the, I guess, vibe of this show so far, which I do think is fresh and new for Star Wars. So I'm excited to see where we go from here. And the last thing that I do want to say is that the 8 episodes are directed by 4 different directors. These first 2 were Leslye Headland. The next 2 are going to be directed by Kogonada, who is the director of Columbus and After Yang, which are phenomenal movies, especially Columbus. I believe that was it. Actually believe both of them are Sundance movies, which, if you know me, I love the Sundance Film Festival. Go check out those films. I believe that this guy is directing the next 2 episodes of this series, which I've heard great things about episode 3. So I'm excited to see where we go with these other directors. Alex Garcia Lopez directed some episodes of The Punisher and Daredevil and Cowboy Bebop, and Hanelle M. Culpepper directed some episodes of Star Trek Discovery and Picard. And so I'm interested to see what these directors also will bring to this show, if they have a different vibe or different style, or if they're going to stick to what Leslye Headland has established thus far in this episode. So I think the creative team behind this show, I have faith in them to stick the landing, but I guess we'll see, which is now when I pass the question off to you guys. What did you think of the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Did you absolutely hate it because the cast is diverse? If you have that opinion, don't comment, just leave me alone. But if you do have other comments, other trepidations, other issues that you had with this episode that maybe I didn't bring up, I definitely want to hear in the comments down below what you thought of The Acolyte, and are you excited for the rest of it? Definitely let me know. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you guys subscribe and leave a like on the video just to see more videos from me. I also have reviews out for I Saw the TV Glow and In a Violent Nature, with The Watchers coming out this weekend, which I'm very excited to watch that film, with Ashana Night Shyamalan being the director of that film. Very excited. And of course, Bad Boys Ride or Die, I might review that one if I have time this weekend. I guess we'll see, but in general, I will try to have reviews out for The Acolyte every week. If they keep on releasing it at 6 p.m. Pacific time, I'll definitely be doing reviews every single week. So also subscribe to the channel to see my thoughts on The Acolyte as the show progresses. But that being said, like I said, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you all in my next one.